As you read through chapter 3, you're going to be looking at this whole idea of defining the intended learning. Now, in a way, think of yourself as an archer. You go out, you have your bow, you have your arrow, and what are you trying to do? You're trying to hit that bullseye and that target. Well, as an educator, you have that bullseye out there, that intended outcome, that learning outcome that you want your students to obtain. And so that's exactly what you're going to be looking at as you read through chapter 3. The intended learning, or as you will see, the term learning targets. Okay? And so this whole idea of learning targets, what are they? Please look on page 49, and you're going to see the definition of what a learning target is. Now, I'll be honest, in my classroom, again, I'm in a public school, public high school, and when my administrator walks into the room, they expect to see my learning target and my objective on the board. Now, in a way, the objective is the more precise task that that you're expecting your students to accomplish, whereas the learning target is sort of the broader picture, the bigger idea, the bigger concept that you want your students to learn. So, um, for example, your learning target may be to analyze the causes and consequences of the Civil War. Then your objective would be more of, again, more precise of, instead of just looking at the causes and the consequences of the Civil War, you really get in and define things more clearly. Like, for example, students will identify uh, the the strengths and weaknesses of the Union and Confederacy, etc. So you've got your learning target, that's kind of the bigger picture, and your objective, which is more precise, to help you get to that learning target. And you'll see that on page 49 as you read the textbook. Okay, as you go through the textbook, please pay attention. They did a great job looking through the different figures they've put. 3.1, the figure is about the keys to quality classroom assessment. What makes a good assessment? So take a look at that figure. And then 3.2 is the categories of learning targets. And that one is going to be a very important figure to really look at and to know the different components, different categories. Okay? And then the 3.3 on reasoning. Also, please look at the examples they give, examples 3.2 through 3.5. This will help basically give you real life applications of what these different things look like for the classroom. Now, when you're looking at this, when you're looking at these different things of reasoning, etc., notice your scaffolding. Maybe you're familiar with Bloom's taxonomy. And Bloom, of course, says there's 6 different levels of learning. And the first level has to do basically with recall, being able to list things, to label. For example, if I were to be given a map, just simply to label the map. That's pretty easy. I can look at another map and just transfer it over. But then as you go up and you start getting into the application and the cause and effect, and notice you're scaffolding the learning. You're starting on the lower level and then working your way up to where the students can do higher order thinking, higher order reasoning. So please pay attention to that as you get to 3.3, and hopefully you'll see that in that. The benefits of having learning targets as an educator. A lot of times you may think, boy, this is just taking a lot of time to list these learning targets. Uh, for example, here recently, I had 4 different classes I taught. And for me to put the learning target and the objectives and the homework for all 4 and what my district was looking for, it took me a good full 45 minutes to fill out my board. And yeah, that can be time consuming, but the benefits are there and it does help you. So please pay attention to pages 78 to 82 of the textbook. It really talks about the benefits for the teachers. Now, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to just concentrate on the teachers and students. The textbook also briefly gets into benefits for the parents, but I'm concentrating just on the teachers and students. Okay? For the teacher, knowing what to teach. Instead of walking in and teaching whatever you want or going down different rabbit trails, it helps you stay focused and knowing what to teach. Secondly, knowing what to assess. All right. You don't want to go in and talk about many different things and then turn around and assess on something else. So it helps you keep focused again on what to assess. Knowing the activities to plan. Okay, what can I do with my students? What activities can I do to help prepare them for that assessment? And so, again, it keeps you more in line of what to do. Avoiding coverage at the expense of learning. I'll be honest, my curriculum map, I don't necessarily teach everything in that curriculum map. If I did, I would just be plowing through the content, and my students might not be grasping it and comprehending it. So you have to be careful with that. The whole idea of, yeah, you've got this wide thing you're teaching, but how much depth is there to it? And so you got to find that balance with that. Okay, and then of course, being able to take the results, especially the testing, and seeing how the students are performing, where you can make an improvement, and how you can help your students learn. So that whole thing of taking that data and then analyzing it is definitely a benefit. Well, there are also benefits, of course, to students. And the authors point that out on pages 82 to 83. Again, it helps the students on what to learn. Just like it helped the teacher on knowing what to teach, the students know what they should be learning. And then it helps them with understanding the feedback. When the teacher grades an assignment or an exam and they put feedback on it, the students have a better idea of exactly what the teacher intended in that feedback. It helps students in setting their own goals and self-assessment as they go through projects and assignments and they realize, maybe I didn't do as well as I thought. And they can self-assess their strengths and weaknesses and then set new goals on their learning. And as a result, by doing this, it helps with students tracking their own progress. How well am I doing as I'm looking at this material? Am I understanding it? And so again, kind of goes along with that self-assessment, but tracking progress. So I want to just take a few moments and look at chapter 3 and kind of hit the highlights of it. There is more in chapter 3, but to me, this is the essential part of it. And I really want you to have an opportunity to go through this material with you. And hopefully this helps as you read through chapter 3.